Hello everyone. The first resource that I'm going to be evaluating here is a PowerPoint slide, and I'm actually using it on a Mac, so it's Keynote. A PowerPoint slide is actually a game that I use with my students. It is a nutrition game that we use at the end of our nutrition unit to kind of um, review and summarize all of the different things that we've learned. I chose this resource because I bought it on Teachers Pay Teachers, so I feel like those kinds of things are necessary for me to dive into deeper and evaluate some more and see whether it's actually meeting my needs and the needs of my students, and to see whether or not it is an appropriate tool for me to be using in my classroom. Let me just start by saying that I love the PCC guidelines. I love the way that they're laid out. I actually printed the document and find it very helpful and very useful, just the way that everything's organized for both evaluating and creating resources. So I really like the way that this document is organized. Um, so this PowerPoint, uh, in looking at the PCC guidelines, the accessible PowerPoint for accessible PowerPoints, the outline view over here on the side, they say to check the outline view and compose your outline in the outline view, and then move to the slide view to add images and designs. I'm not adding any images or designs to this. This is basically a tool that was already there. I just purchased it and use it. As far as the slide layout, again, I didn't add anything or modify anything, so I'm not necessarily worried about how to do that. I feel like the content meets my needs, but I do like the way that they have things laid out. You'll see in each category that the answer always appears up at the top and the question is down here in this box. So let me just show you. So this is the game board. It's a Jeopardy game. And then if we play, so, you select a category, you have the question, and then you can click for the answer. Then, if I click the fridge, it takes me back to that beginning slide, which is a really nice feature so that it's a nice flowing game when you're actually using it in the classroom and you're not having to go back to the slide view to go back to the top in the first slide and start all over again. So that's nice. I like that. The only thing that I don't like about the layout of this is the fact that after I've done a question, it doesn't mark the question for me. So I don't know which questions have been answered and which questions haven't if I'm not keeping track of it. That's one thing that I feel like isn't as effective in using this as a Jeopardy game. Changing the reading order, though, obviously I'm not going to change it because I need the questions in order of their points, but on a Mac you can just drag these slides around and put them in the order that you need them in. So, and again, I don't use this to print or anything. It's basically just a review game. So I don't have any tables. I don't have any links. Um, there are no video or audio links. Well, there is a little bit of audio at the end here. Let me, we shake hands and say good game and stuff. And so there's just that little piece of audio at the end. But as far as having outside resources in this, there are none. And I don't necessarily think that I need outside resources in my use for it in the classroom. Maybe if this is something I was going to send home for families to play, I might have a page of links where I found the answers to these questions, or links where they can find more information on nutrition ideas. But I think for my purposes and what I'm using it for, it definitely meets what I need it to as far as accessibility. Some of the UDL ideas, the PowerPoint does provide flexible formatting as far as font and stuff. again, all of that was already done for me, so I didn't have to do anything to it, but I can go in here and change things. If, say, I don't like the Comic Sans font, I could change that. So that's nice that I can go back in and edit it even though I purchased it. I know sometimes when you purchase things off of Teachers Pay Teachers, you don't always get editing rights. There's limited symbol use here, and I think that's pretty appropriate for my grade level. I have first graders, so we don't get into a lot of that. That can be really confusing at the age of 7, so I try to limit that as much as possible overall. That was UDL guideline number 2. It's obviously in English. I teach in Southeastern School District, and honestly, we don't have many English language learners. I haven't come across that in my teaching experiences there yet. That does not mean it's not going to happen. We just might be a little bit behind the times down on the southern end of the county. But yeah, so I don't have that issue right now, and this is in English, so that's perfect. I do wish there was a text to speech portion, and that is UDL checkpoint 1.3. That would offer a great alternative for students with visual impairments. So I know that my math book, when I have my math book online, it has a little speaker that I just click and it will read the portions of the problems to students. So I kind of wish that this had that, but obviously I'm playing the game with them and I am facilitating the game, so I'm always reading the questions, so they are getting that audio piece. They're not expected to go ahead and read the question by themselves. So I guess it's still there, but I'm the one that's providing it. So if they were going to play this game on their own, though, at home, that would be really nice to have. The game primarily calls on background knowledge, which is the UDL checkpoint 3.1. And since this game is played in 2 teams, I split the kiddos up into 2 teams heterogeneously. That's how I provide scaffolding. I try to make sure that both teams are a mixed bag, and I sit certain students with other students that are going to be, so everyone is scaffolding appropriately. And I'm also sure to provide feedback. Like I said, as the facilitator, I have the advantage of being right there, listening to their conversations and being able to guide them if I need to, but also providing quick feedback for those answers that they do give me and guiding their misconceptions. As far as special needs accommodations, again, I don't feel like this PowerPoint necessarily provides any, but I feel like I provide some in the way that I facilitate the use of this. So again, my reading of the questions, my pairing of students for peer scaffolding. I got this off of page 221 in our text. They had an interesting suggestion though about colored backgrounds on page 221 of our text. I didn't really understand where that was coming from, and maybe I just don't have enough background knowledge on the content, but I've always heard, that you don't want to write in red marker because of some visual impairments. So I'm wondering how the background color really has a lot to do with the visual impairments, but again, I'm thinking that's something that would come to me specifically in an IEP or some kind of official document or notice that I needed to change. So I think there's a good contrast here between the light purple and the black lettering, so I think that's good. But I just thought that section about background colors was really interesting, something I never considered before. All right, so this was my PowerPoint, my nutrition PowerPoint. Overall, I think it's a pretty good resource that I'm going to continue to use in my classroom, but it definitely needs some accommodations, and there's always room for improvement. And I wish that this had some more technological tools built into it, the text-to-speech feature, things like that, that would help students out, that they could do it on their own in a small group, and maybe I wouldn't have to be there to read things, and it could be a little bit more student-centered. All right, well, thank you for listening.